Alrighty, now it's time to link that CSS file to that index in your Lego website. Going into Dreamweaver, we've created an index file and saved it as an HTML file in our Lego folder. We've also created Lego styles and we've linked that into our Lego folder as well. Now it's time to make them talk to each other so that we can code CSS that affects our HTML. And we can test that out pretty quickly. We can go down into our body here and let's just make an h1 test tag. So this is just going to be a test inside of our body. If you have the properties panel open like I do, you can hit refresh if it's not showing in your live view, and you should see that H1 pop up. What we want to do is make it purple, and we need to do that in our CSS for our styles. So we're going to go ahead and link our style sheet. We're not going to open it yet because once we link it, it actually will pop up right up here and we won't ever have to open it individually again. So to do that, we're going to place our link inside of our head tag. The reason it's going to go inside of the head tag is because it's something that manifests on the page, but we don't necessarily need our user to see, like text or images or content. So think about, again, if you're walking, you don't have people physically seeing you say walk, 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 walk for your left and right leg. It just manifests on your body and manifests outside of your body as you walk, but nobody's actually seeing the work that your brain is doing. Think about your style like what happens inside your brain. It's things that we see, but they don't necessarily need to be coded inside of what everybody gets to visualize outside. So I'm going to go after my title tag on line 5 and hit enter. And this is where we're going to go ahead and put a link. We're doing a link this time instead of a image source or a source or an ahref for an anchor, because this is not something people are going to be able to click on. It's just linking two files together. It is a standalone tag, which means it closes within itself, which means there is no closing tag separate. It just has a slash at the end to end it. Once you've got that link, you're then going to do a hyperlink reference to what the source is for that file. Inside of there, we're going to be able to put the file name. But as you can see, when I typed the quotation marks, the file isn't popping up unless you scroll down. So inside of there, you're going to link to that Lego style. Lego styles.css is now the href, but we also need a couple other features that tell the computer and the browser what I'm looking at. It's important to note that you are looking at a relative link to a style sheet. And you can see that when I actually type the quotation marks for REL, there are options like appendixes, archives, chapters, contents, all these different things. We want to tell it, hey, we're looking at a style sheet. And then there's two types that can pop up for a link. You've got a CSS and a JavaScript file. We want to link to a CSS. Once you have all three of these pieces to your link file as attributes, which means that they're inside of the tag, you should then be able to refresh, and now you should have a Lego styles up here. You should also have a source code, which essentially is the source code for your HTML. Then, once we go to Lego styles over here, we're now in the style sheet, and you can see your CSS document that you created in the last video is showing. So if we want to call upon our header 1, for instance, or our heading 1 of H1, we can then go ahead and make it have a color of purple. And you'll see that if you click up in your live view, it should change to purple, even though this is on a totally separate file, because now they're linked together and talking to each other. And the index is actually pulling the style from the CSS and bringing it back and applying it to your source code. That's how you can link a file that's external for your CSS. I'm going to go ahead and delete this H1 because I don't need it anymore now that I've tested it out. And same thing for my style sheet. I'm going to go to my style sheet on line 4 and delete my H1 there. I'm going to go File and Save All to make sure I've saved my files. And at this point, you should have a source code that's ready to roll with a linked style sheet, and you should be able to see that style sheet up here instead of having a separate file located at the top.